Friendships.
Partnership. Achieving together.
Friends.
Well, to me it's just working together, I suppose, for a shared goal. I saw my colleague and he had Mā te mahi tahi ka tutuki, and I like that. It means working together you get things done.
I think collaboration for us is about working alongside a partner against a particular theme or around a certain topic in a way that we deliver against our own individual strengths, but we actually have a far better impact and far wider reach and a better return for our businesses.
Working together to understand what museums actually do in a modern context, in a modern society, what relevance they are, asking those questions of each other towards growing their audience. That's possibly what I think collaboration might be.
I think obviously exhibitions is is a key one, so working on exhibitions with another gallery, for example. Working on publications is another possibility, and that can be between institutions or with a commercial partner.
Well, it's working together, listening to each other, getting it sorted.
Collaboration in the museum world, well, there's lots of iterations of it, and I guess for me it's about partnerships, looking for ways of working together for mutual benefit and gain. It's all about winning.
Yeah, I think it's respect, it's openness, and I suppose negotiation. You've got to take give and take, and just really trust one another.
Well, you've got to match your needs. So one group will have a need, and another group will have a need, and if it's better that there's two of you working on it, you can achieve something and get more out of it.
I think some kind of equality between the partners. So people are bringing a kind of roughly equal kind of contribution. It doesn't mean the same contribution. It could be sort of money, it could be people, it could be other kinds of resources. But what you don't want is some huge disparity, so that one party feels, well, I'm doing all the work and they're not doing enough. So that's important. I think the other thing is communication. Good communication is absolutely essential.
I think where outcomes are mutually beneficial, so there's no exploitation on behalf of one party or the other who are involved, and that there's a fair return, and also that all the dealings are quite transparent, there's no hidden agendas out there.
Success at the end of it.
Well, I don't know whether there's a downside, but you'll have to be prepared, I suppose, to share power in decision-making process. For some that's difficult, but I think it's a good thing.
I think sometimes you need to compromise, so sometimes that might be at the expense of some of your brand strength or recognition, but I think you need to work through those, because what we do as part of something will be better for the whole of us.
I've never really found a downside to collaboration, I have to say, except possibly personalities. It's very hard to keep personalities out of work that you're passionate about. That's what happens, and sometimes there are collisions. Yeah, so there are some downsides. You just have to be diplomatic.
I think probably the biggest one is it often takes longer to do something than you would take yourself or your organisation, which is used to working as a team. So yeah, it can take longer. Also, I've found that it can be quite difficult working with a partner that hasn't done this before.
If you don't listen to each other and you find out you're in bed with the wrong person, not a good idea. Bye. Oops.
When there are different expectations from the people at the table, so you're not working past one another, or priorities change, because it does, priorities change, things get mucked about, and it's nobody's fault, but it happens, and I guess it's just about making sure that people communicate it.
Never! Yeah, we have to do it all the time, otherwise there'd be no point to us being. We're not so huge we can just go alone, and that's not the point. So we've been collaborating with museums and galleries all over New Zealand, and it's really fantastic.
Yeah, we did a collaborative matariki event with Capital E, our colleagues in the Museums Trust, and it was really successful.
I think I've collaborated with iwi, tau iwi, with historians and scientists, with artists and artisans, with craftspeople and architects, with oceanographers and scientists and children, and thinkers and non-thinkers, and people who dig holes, and friends. Yes, I think I've collaborated with lots of people.
Oh yeah, I think we collaborate all the time. One of the best collaborations I've had is the Field Museum. I restored a meeting house in their museum in the early 90s, and that was good for me because there was a collaboration between museums, the tribal people of Tokomaru Bay, the whānau Rua Taupare, and the First Nations of Chicago. And to me it was a real, I still look at it now and the relationship continues, but a great collaboration. We
run the Arts for All program. We started with a resource book, here it is, that invited several leading cultural institutions to be part of it, like Te Papa, like the Auckland Art Gallery, like the Gullet Brewster in New Plymouth. So what's great is that they started off being in a resource book that showed people how they could open their doors to disabled people, the 1 in 6 New Zealanders who identify as disabled. What we're doing now is working together in a forum, collaborative way around New Zealand, where we're running network meetings, where the venue owners and operators, the cultural institutions and the like, are listening with disabled people to find out how they can be included more and not miss out.
At the moment working on an interpretation project within Historic Places Trust actually. It sounds a bit odd to say a collaboration could be within an organisation, but because the different parts of this organisation do such very different things, we're currently working on interpretation for the Waikato war sites that my bit of the organisation looks after. But we're also working very closely with the Maori Heritage team, and they're taking the opportunity to do registrations of other sites. So the information that we together are getting from the local hapu is actually feeding into 2 quite different strands of work. But we're working absolutely hand in glove with the Maori Heritage team, and so that's an interesting kind of within an organisation collaboration.
Okay, it was good for me. I hope it was good for them.
Yes, it is. It's still in progress, so we don't kind of know quite how it's going to end up, but I think it's going to be very good, and the process is working really well.
It's always good. You can't work in a vacuum. You have to collaborate.
I think it was really successful because we each played to our own strengths. That might have been media, it might have been website presence, it might have been ad costs, newsletter mailing lists, etc. So it allowed us to really work together and optimise the opportunity so that we all benefited from it. Fantastic. We had nearly 800 locals who came up to Carter and enjoyed the family.
Yeah, it was good because I think, you know, it was good on a number of levels. We collaborated from museum to museum, agencies in New Zealand to museums, First Nations to Indigenous peoples, to restore a meeting house and ultimately to uplift the people. And to me, you know, it's that shared goal or purpose, but the end point, you know, to see those of Tokomaru Bay, the whānau Rua Taupare, to be uplifted by their meeting house being restored and renovated, and seeing all the people involved in the process, to me that's the real tangible expression of, I think, a good collaboration.
Do I have a fantasy collaboration? No, I'm totally based in reality.
Used to be Keanu Reeves. Not sure it is anymore though.
Fantasy collaboration, that's interesting.
I don't know that I do actually, because I think already I've had some really great collaborations, and I'm not sure I can think of anything better than the 1 or 2 that have just gone completely brilliantly, so no, I don't really.
Yeah, my fantasy collaboration is that big business with lots of funds meets major museums in New Zealand with all of the objects and the knowledge, working with me as a designer and conceiver to create the ultimate exhibition on New Zealand identity.
Yeah, I suppose I do. I've been reflecting on that. I suppose there, you know, I sort of look at, in times of tragedy, we always sort of come together in all of government approach to make things happen. And I think it'd be great if we, as the sector, museum sector, and combined with other sectors to realise our dreams around, say, Māori cultural futures.
It'd be really good to be able to collaborate with, I guess, non-traditional museum visitors and communities that engage with that, so that it's accessing and reaching a group that traditionally is really hard to get to. So maybe it's, I don't know, wayward teenagers, there you go.
Aliens perhaps collaborating with Carter Observatory in a media blitz around UFOs. They're out there.